Welcome back, patreon.com/the Derrick Lamon Experience, your one-stop shop for your gaming news, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, iHeart, etc., wherever you find your podcast services. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Week in Gaming. Of course, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson, but you already knew that. No huge news, but there is some news this week. So I was like, I don't know if there's even worth doing a show. And then I get online and it's like, holy shit, I didn't see all this stuff. So let's get right down to brass tacks. Really quickly, this coming from our good friends over at videogamechronicles.com. New Nintendo patent appears ahead of Switch 2 expected reveal. There's been some Switch news, or what we think is called the Switch 2. Apparently, it looks just like it. There's been some leaks, actual physical leaks and stuff like that out there. I'm not going to confirm anything until Nintendo says, hey, this is actually what it is. They're going to be tight-lipped about it until we actually see the thing. But it's looking like this might actually be it. We saw like the motherboard and stuff like that, and it's like, holy shit, this is real. Anyway, new Nintendo patent appears ahead of Switch 2 expected reveal. Nintendo's latest filing adds weight to the expectation it will use DLSS-style upscaling. Patent filed in July of 2023, published on Tuesday, describes a system of machine learning that can convert images of one resolution into a higher one. DLSS, deep learning supersampling, or similar technologies work by using AI to upscale the resolution of games, effectively allowing developers to achieve higher graphical settings and better frame rates on weaker hardware. How they're going to, it's got to be on a chip anyway. We did see an NVIDIA chip on that motherboard, so I would assume this has something to do with that. Sony's recently launched PlayStation 5 Pro utilizes its own upscaling technology, PSSR, at a platform level, while AMD's FSR is a popular solution on other consoles, which is utilized on a game-by-game basis. It has been reported previously by VGC and other outlets that Nintendo is planning to utilize a DLSS-style technology on its next system, which could provide a significant advantage considering the technical constraints faced by portable devices. As noted by journalist Laura K. Dill, the new patent mentions using upscaling technology to reduce overall game sizes to fit a modern game onto smaller capacity physical media, for example, game cards. Very, very interesting. Who in the world is this? Anyway, the example given is that a game with native 4K textures might need a 60 gigabyte download, but a 1080 native version might only need a 20 gigabyte, which will allow it to fit on a 32 gig Switch cart, the current max size Nintendo produces for the Switch 1. The idea being to do a 4-time upscale on the device in real time. Tweet from Laura K. Oh, actually, a skeet. I guess this came from Blue Sky from Laura K. Dill. Quote, perhaps the most interesting piece of this after a lengthy read is that one example use case given is explicitly to reduce overall game sizes to fit a modern game onto smaller capacity physical media. Switch carts, which get exponentially more expensive for larger cart capacities. Nintendo previously published an AI upscaling patent in 2020, which described the process of potential use in cloud gaming, in which cloud-based systems could send a compressed low-res image to the player's device, which would then be upscaled using AI to reduce the latency. The latest patent was published on the same day that alleged images of Switch's 2 internal hardware components appeared on Reddit. If accurate, the images appear to confirm previous hardware spec rumors suggesting that the new console will again be powered by NVIDIA hardware. Nintendo has yet to officially reveal its Switch successor, but the company has confirmed plans to do so during its current fiscal year, which ends in March of 2025. Alleged images of the Nintendo Switch successor appeared online in September, showing a design that's not too dissimilar from the company's current gen console. If the leaked one is the actual Switch 2, or whatever they're going to call it, Switch Next Gen, or whatever the hell they're going to call it, I, for one, like it. It looks really good. It more curved on the dock and stuff like that. I think there might be a C port on there. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to go back and look, but it looks really good. I'm thinking we should see something. I'm gonna say late January or early February. And then depending on the actual release date, that'll get you time for pre-orders and stuff like that. My biggest question is because I know I'm going to get the hardware. My biggest question is what games are going to be there at launch. That's the biggest thing I'm worried about. What are you going to have for me at launch on launch date? Let's see what you got. Let's see what your studios have been working on, or what the partner studios have been working on. But I'm really excited for the Switch 2 or whatever they're going to call it. We don't know, but I'm really, really excited for the next piece of Nintendo hardware. In other news, also coming from our friends at videogameschronicle.com, this is very interesting and it's caused quite an upstir. Um, when you get online, there's like two different types of people, and they kind of do the same. There are people who still believe that Drake won that battle against Kendrick Lamar, and they cannot be any further from the truth. I'm a fan of both of them, and I can like I understood when Jay and Nas went at it. Nas Ether was the end. Ether was the kill shot. Hove got low, went away for a while, and came back. Did Angie Martinez, and then dropped the Blueprint too. Right? Drake refuses to get low. Same can be said about people who are explicitly members of the Xbox ecosystem. Microsoft has shown you this is what's going on. We've heard other developers tell you this is what the problem is. And they're like, no, the developer's lying. This is not the situation. They just have a deal with PlayStation, blah, 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 blah. Well, if there was a deal when the paperwork had to be revealed during Microsoft's battle with the FTC about the acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, we probably would have known if there was really a deal for said game. Anyway, Black Myth Wukong's director blames the Series S for Xbox delays. Confusion remains around Wukong's Xbox no-show. Chinese developer announced last summer that the Xbox version of the popular PC and PS5 action RPG had been pushed back due to internal quality concerns after it's expected to release in tandem with other versions. Several months later, a Microsoft statement heavily suggested a platform agreement with PlayStation was the cause for the continued delays and denied it was due to Xbox platform limitations that have been raised to us. Bullshit. Anyway, now the game's director has added further confusion to the situation, posting on the Chinese social network Weibo, translated by Reset Air. Quote, everyone's fighting power is so terrifying, but the only thing missing is the Xbox robe. It seems a bit wrong, but that 10 gigs of shared memory without a few years of optimization experience, it really can't be taken down. Statement appears to reference the Xbox Series S's 10 gigs of RAM, which is lower than the Xbox Series X's 16 gigs and must be shared across the system's OS and games. And again, this lines up with there being no parity. Microsoft told developers, you can't release a game for the Series X only. You have to release it. That game better be able to run on both platforms or you can't do it. There's no parity. Larian had to speak with Microsoft and said, hey, we're having an issue to getting the split screen working on the Series S version. So I believe they kind of cut them some slack and let them launch it without it. I don't know. I didn't play Baldur's Gate 3 because it's not the type of game I would be looking to play. But from my understanding, there was some kind of conversation about that. And it's not even my understanding. That's what happened. Because after the Game Awards last year, there were conversations had around these trade shows like, hey, we want to get this game out there for your people, but we can't do it this way. And Microsoft's okay, like, all right, just go ahead and do what you got to do to make sure we can get the game out. And then you got Baldur's Gate. Seems like this is kind of same situation almost. The statement appears to reference Xbox Series 10 gigs of RAM. Again, it's currently a mandatory requirement for developers to ensure that their games are compatible with both Series X and Series S in order to release them for Microsoft's consoles. This has led some developers to argue that having to cater to Microsoft's entry-level console limits the potential of current-gen games. There's been plenty of speculation regarding Wukong's delayed Xbox release, with some questioning whether it may be related to the difficulties importing to the Series S, an issue that has affected some games in the past, including Baldur's Gate 3, which I just said. However, publications including Forbes have previously reported the delay was due to Sony striking an undisclosed console exclusivity deal for the game. And that's not how it works. It just isn't. There could be a show of cause. VGC has asked Microsoft for commentary on the story. As of now, there is nothing, but the keyboard warrior's out in full effect. This is bullshit. You're lying. Smooth, kid Smooth. Shout out to Smooth. I like Smooth. Shout out to Weapon Wheel Podcast, by the way. I don't know what happened. BG has dismissed Bond from the Weapon Wheel Podcast. The Twitter timeline was in an uproar today, and I think it happened yesterday. And then Bond told like Blandrew, Alex, Jack, and Smooth, goodbye. My time with Weapon Wheel has come to an end. Everybody thought he was joking, and then BG's like, hey, Bond is no longer part of Weapon Wheel Podcast. This is my decision. Yada yada yada. It's like, oh, this is real, and everybody's like, what is happening? Everybody in the community. So Some guys are rallying, trying to get, bond spot and get that payout from BG. I didn't even bother. The only one that I actually kind of had some conversations with is Alex. Like Jack and I have like, tweeted, like I'll be like, yo, I dig what you said about this, that, and third. Jack always very appreciative, like to look at my dude. Alex, just a funny cat. Like I'm like, yo, you were a wild boy, and like, so shout out to them. Shout out to all of them. But like I said, I don't really know them. I don't know any of them like that. The only ones that I've actually, had any kind of a conversation with, again, online, Alex and Jack Move. But shout out to Bond, man. He was entertaining. Bond was very entertaining. Him and Smooth and their bets and all that stuff, and Bond and BG and their back and forth. I don't know what caused this, and I don't think we'll ever find out. Maybe BG might say something, but who the hell knows? But Smooth, again, to spin it back around, Smooth went on his YouTube channel and made a video and basically said that he believes the developers of the game are lying and that there definitely is a deal with Sony, this, that, and the third. I don't buy it, and the only reason is because there's never been a game where Sony was hesitant to let everybody know they're like, "Yo, we've got exclusive rights to this game for this amount of time." So I don't know why they would hide it now of all times. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. But again, shout out to Kid Smooth. I like his content. A lot of people in the comments on his YouTube video are like, "Yo, the console war is over. Like, stop this." So I don't know. It's very, very interesting, which actually leads me into our next story. And this comes from GameSpot.com. Microsoft may bring all of their big games to PS5, an analyst said. 2025 could be the year that Microsoft goes, quote, all in on its multi-platform strategy, a video game analyst has said. According to a veteran video game industry analyst, 2025 could be the year that Microsoft goes all in on bringing its Xbox games to other platforms, including PlayStation 5. Microsoft, of course, has already begun to launch some games on rival platforms, but Sirkin Toto of Content Games believes Microsoft will lead further into that this year. Told to GI.biz, which is GameIndustry.biz, that Microsoft may opt to do this variety of reasons, including helping to pay for its massive buyout of Activision Blizzard and the huge lead of PlayStation in the market. What did I say? They got to get that money back in blood. Got to get it back because $80 billion is a lot of fucking money. Sorry, it just is. 80 million is a lot. Fuck, $80 in this economy can, but they got to get that money back. Quote, 2025 might be the year where they go all in, Total said. The $69 billion Activision Blizzard deal, $69 billion for that, and then I forgot how much exactly, whatever you want to add onto that to get you to 79 or $80 billion, give or take. Excuse me, for Bethesda ZeniMax. I think it totaled like $80 billion. Excuse me. Rising costs across the board, the power of forever titles, the huge lead of Sony, and other factors will likely leave Microsoft no choice but to bring all their big games to PS5 early, including blockbusters such as Gears of War E-Day or Perfect Dark. In early 2024, Microsoft surprised some people by announcing some of its first-party games will launch on other platforms, including Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Hi-Fi Rush, and Pentiment. Even before this, though, Microsoft was already one of the biggest publishers on PlayStation and Switch thanks to the juggernaut Minecraft series. Call of Duty is now in Microsoft franchise too. And Microsoft continues to release the game on PlayStation platforms. They said it was going to be just those four, and then everybody's like, if you guys believe that, you're out of your mind. And they were right, because it's been much more than that. One of the next big Xbox games to come to PlayStation is Indiana Jones and The Great Circle, which launches for PS5 in spring of 2025. I'm playing it right now on Xbox Series X. It is a phenomenal game, especially if you're an 80s baby and an Indiana Jones fan to boot. Beyond this, there are ongoing rumors of a Halo Combat Evolved remaster project that could launch on PS5. In May, it was reported that Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella and CFO Amy Hood are mandating increasing margins at all divisions, including Xbox. At the time, it was reported that Microsoft might look to release even more of its first-party games on PlayStation to help increase revenue. There is said to be an internal plan within Microsoft called Latitude that is focused on formulating plans to bring more first-party Xbox games to rival systems. The lighting's on the wall, and it's been there for quite some time. If you guys are still console warring, number one, stop it. Let's start there. If you believe that this is not the future, I got a bridge and, look, I got a lot of land to sell you and some more shit. They're leaning into it. They're leaning into it. These are the optics, and the optics are matching up to what everybody was saying. And I don't ever want to give certain people credit, But like I said, Jez said it. We just had this conversation. Jez Corden said it. Like, hey, they're not going to do exclusives anymore. At best, I think we're going to see timed exclusives from Microsoft. At best, and then they'll go to PlayStation, kind of the way that PlayStation is giving you console games on the PS5, and then a year, year and a half, almost 2 years, depending on what the game is, then it'll go to PC, and that's the best you get. I don't think that just because Microsoft is opening up their IP and sending it to other platforms, please don't believe that Sony's going to do. Like, everybody's like, Sony's going to do the same. Sony's going to go day and date. They're not. They're not. They're not going to go day and date with their new titles on PlayStation Plus, especially since Microsoft then said, hey, we're not going day and date on Game Pass anymore, only on Game Pass Ultimate. It's like, oh shit. Now I have Game Pass Ultimate, so it doesn't bother me. I have PlayStation Plus Premium, it doesn't bother me. I'd be good either way. And I also have a PC, which I also need to check the Epic Game Store to see what the free game is. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The fact of the matter is, this is the new normal for Microsoft. And if people want to keep fooling themselves, that's perfectly fine. I would just say, get used to it. Get used to it. Like, if you think that Microsoft is going to wake up and be like, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to do that. Let's just go ahead and, hey, how about we just say fuck it, and we throw that plan in the trash, and we just go about this the way that we want to. Like, buddy, that's not happening. That is not happening. It is what it is, and it was what it was. And I just need you guys to understand this is what it is from here on out. Point blank, period. Like, point blank, period. Um, where are we? Oh, I'm sorry. We've got updated sales numbers for the remainder of 2024. This comes from VGCharts.com. I'm sorry. PS5 Pro boosts PS5 sales to over 4 million worldwide. Hardware estimates for November 2024. And that's not 4 million lifetime. No, they sold way more PlayStation 5s than that. PlayStation 5 was the best-selling console worldwide with 4.12 million units sold for November of 2024. Just 4 million in the month of November, which makes sense because Christmas is in December. Black Friday is the biggest shopping day of the year. According to VG Charts, estimates the PlayStation 5 is now sold an estimate 67.70 million units lifetime worldwide. 67.75. Ooh. Nintendo Switch sold an estimated 1.72 million units to bring its lifetime sales to 146.4 million units. The Xbox Series X and S sold just a little 0.77 million units to bring their lifetime sales to 31.21. So yeah, they're still being outsold 2-1 by the PlayStation 5. PlayStation 4 sold an estimated 4,118 units to bring its lifetime sales to 117.19 million units. PS5 sales compared to the same month for PS4 in 2017 are up nearly 0.62 million units, while the Xbox Series X Series X and S, compared to the same month for Xbox One are down by over 1.59 million units. So they're buying the Xbox Series X and S consoles even less than they bought the Xbox One consoles. This is insane. PS4 sold 3.5 million units for the month of November 2017, and Xbox One sales were at 2.36 million units. PlayStation 5 sales compared to the same month a year ago are up by 638,229 for a total of 18.3%. Xbox Series X and S sales are down by 261,092 units, which is a negative 25.4%. Nintendo Switch sales are down 69,029 units for a negative 3.9%. The PlayStation 4 is down by 12,651 units for a negative 75.4% year over year. Looking at the sales month on month, PlayStation 5 sales are up by nearly 3.3 million units. Xbox Series X and S sales are up by 0.45 million units, and Nintendo Switch sales are up by over 1.2 million units. 2024 year to date, the PlayStation 5 has sold an estimated 15.31 million units. The Nintendo Switch has sold 9.30 million units, and the Xbox Series X and S has sold 4 million units for the year 2024. So consoles are selling. It's just that PlayStation is selling more. Global hardware, November 2024, 4.12 million PlayStation 5s, 1.7 million Switches, 767,000 Xbox Series X and S, and 4,118 PlayStation 4s. I'm not going to go over all the numbers. Suffice to say, Sony's still doing very, very well in the console space on the PlayStation 5 end. And people are still buying PlayStation 4s, which I find funny because PlayStation 5s are readily available at this point. But it is what it is. I don't know. In other news, speaking of Sony, Sony confirmed CES 2025 presser. Fans already getting their hopes up. I'm going to tell you guys to pause right there. They're not going to talk about the PlayStation 6. They may allude to the future, but you're not going to see a box. They're not going to give you the specs or anything like that. It is 2025. PlayStation 5 has only been out for 5 years. The PlayStation 6 is actively in R&D. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to find anything out about it right now. Sony has confirmed its presence at 2025's Consumer Electronics Show, CES, and fans are already crossing fingers for a PS5 announcement or two to start the year off. No big game announcements either, I would imagine. While Sony has made some video game related announcements in past events, CES revolves around hardware, so fans shouldn't expect any bombshells. Duh. The CES 2025 will take place between January 7th and 10th in Las Vegas, Nevada. Sony will hold its presser at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I'm sorry, no. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, January 6th. So you guys will hear this if you're on the free feeds Monday morning. The presser will be Monday evening. And if you're on Patreon, of course, you will hear this in its normal time slot on Saturday. On the gaming front, we expect Sony to talk about the PS5 Pro and possibly reveal its upcoming console covers. At CES 2024, the company surprised fans by announcing 3 new console covers for the PS5 Slim. And since Sony has already confirmed that the PS5 Pro will receive a new console cover in due course, we think the likelihood of seeing them at CES 2025 is high. Sony sometimes shares PlayStation stats and video game release windows at CES events, so we might see a highlight reel of sorts. If the company chooses to bring PSVR 2 to the event, it's likely to talk about advances in technology as opposed to announcing new games for the headset. I know like one person who got a VR headset for Christmas, and it was a MetaQuest. Actually, 2 people. Now that I think about it, I don't know what's going to happen with PSVR, but I'm going to tell you this: Apple is pausing production of the Apple Vision Pro headset, so it's not doing well. But with that price tag of $3,500, you can see why. I don't know if that's going to affect actual VR for like PCs and consoles. We shall see, but I don't know. But if there's going to be VR stuff, you probably will see it at CES. Um, let's go ahead and talk more a little bit about the Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be called. We've seen all kinds of rumors speculating on Nintendo Switch's 2's launch window. A few have offered an exact launch date. Enough reports have speculated that March is the console's launch month, which we know will happen. However, a leak from Italian website UAGNA offers a more precise date for the release of the Nintendo Switch's 2 first and third-party accessories. The website claims these devices will go on sale March 28th of 2025. This sounds plausible, and it's unlikely Nintendo will flood the market with its accessories without the console being on sale. Do keep in mind, the Nintendo Switch went on sale March 3rd of 2017. Nintendo would also be unlikely to release the console without simultaneously making the accessories available. The video game console accessory market offers a lot of money, so Nintendo and third-party companies will want to have their devices ready for launch. As with all the leaks and rumors, we take this one with a grain of salt. It should have been at the top of the show. I apologize. However, the date posted here aligns with other leaks suggesting the console will be announced in January and released in March. While it may be wrong, it matches everything we have heard, and it falls in line with what happened last time. What's interesting about the purported timetable is that Nintendo typically has a longer lead time between announcing and releasing a console. The original Switch went on sale March 3rd of 2017, but was announced by Nintendo on October 20th of 2016. It was like a little teaser. Full 4.5 months. With the rumored announcement and release date, Nintendo would have roughly 2.5 months separating them. They gave us that little teaser. They gave us a little situation in January, and then pre-orders went live that night, if I remember correctly, and then it came out in March. Another Switch 2 leak shared by Forbes suggests the console will pack similar power to the PS4 Pro. The current Nintendo Switch runs with PS3 level graphics, so it would make sense for the Nintendo to jump an entire console generation. Excuse me. With the follow-up to its popular hybrid console. Of course, that would still put Nintendo a whole generation behind Microsoft and Sony's consoles. It's worth noting that the rumor says though power levels would be reserved for the console's docked mode and would be lessened in the handheld, much like the current Switch, which I think that everybody should know. In this mode, the report says the console will offer power similar to a base PS4. And handheld is going to be a base PS4? That's what they're saying. So the docked version will It'll look like a PS4 Pro, and then handheld will look like a base PS4. That's not bad for a handheld console. That's not bad at all. Just saying. I don't know. And then lastly, also with new consoles generally come new games or maybe a remaster of another game. This is coming from comicbook.com. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 version is supposedly in development, though right now there is no word of the Nintendo Switch 2 version of its sequel, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. When The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild released back in 2017, it was not just a Nintendo Switch launch game, but also a Wii U game, which many Nintendo fans often forget. Um, Twilight Princess launched on the Wii and the GameCube same day. So it's not like they haven't done this before. Also, this probably should have been at the top of the show as well. I apologize. Take everything with a grain of salt. Um, again, it not just a Switch launch game, but also a Wii U game, with many Nintendo fans, which many Nintendo fans often forget. In fact, it began development as a Wii game and only ended up as a Nintendo Switch game because of development delays. Suffice to say, it's not the best looking game, but considering it is technically a Wii game, this isn't exactly surprising. To this end, if there's a Nintendo Switch game that could use a Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade, it's probably The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and a new leak suggests Nintendo agrees and is currently working on such a port. I would not be surprised because they ported damn near everything that didn't sell on the Wii U, and that's everything because not a lot of people bought a Wii U. I bought two of them, still have one. But yeah, it was a port machine because it's like, hey, we got to make money back on this. New intel comes way of Samus Hunter, a well-known Nintendo insider with a somewhat spotty track record, but was recently proven reliable. For example, they not only leaked the Xenoblade Chronicles X was coming to Nintendo Switch, but teased the news 24 hours before it was officially announced. The new leak is light on information, though. Samus Hunter notes that, quote, there has been work on a better version of Breath of the Wild for Nintendo Switch 2, but they are unaware of how it will be handled. This was said in the back of different rumor claiming Nintendo is working on several Nintendo Switch 2 patches for current Nintendo Switch games. Very interesting. No, Nintendo, you're not just going to pop your game in and get a patch to upgrade. They're going to make you pay for the remaster, just like PlayStation does. Not going to lie. If all this rings of deja vu is because it was reported that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was featured in a Nintendo Switch 2 demo shown to developers behind closed doors in 2023. I forgot about that. Whether these two versions of the game are one and the same, it isn't said, but there's a chance they are. At least the demo version was the groundwork for this Nintendo Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild. Of course, again, take this new information with a grain of salt, as it not only unofficial information, but appears laced with speculation as well. So far, Nintendo has not been drawn out for comment on the rumor or the speculation that has come with it, and they're not going to give you any information. You're gonna have to wait until we actually see something. We do not suspect this will change, as it rarely comments on rumors. But if it bucks expectation and provides a statement, we'll be sure to update the story with whatever it has to say, salient or not. I'll be willing to bet dollars to donuts that there's a Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild 2. I don't know if it's going to be a launch title, but I would not be surprised if it exists. In fact, I would almost assume that it does exist, just to be on the safe side. But again, this should have been at the top of the show, just like the other situation. Take it with a grain of salt until something is actually concrete. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Again, Happy New Year. Hopefully everybody celebrated safely. And I know there were some tragedies that happened in our country. Not so much around the world, but definitely here in the United States of America. Praying for a healthy and prosperous 2025 for everybody. 24 did not go the way I expected, but I actually didn't expect anything to happen. I was just trying to make it through the year and be better and learn more about myself. And then some things unfortunately happened, but I'm here in 2025. And when you guys, I'll turn on the mic and I will give you your gaming news as often as I possibly can. Anyway, believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, of course, nobody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson, and that is my time. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.